line, the connection will be restored. But I'll come to you, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. So what would you advise the Fix the Country movement? What would you say should be their next move?
I believe, and I believe strongly, that there's a need for them to articulate their views clearly. When they need to come out as to what is it that they want the government to fix, so that we can get a sense of what they have in store for government. And that will also help government to be able to address the issues head on. Another thing that I also want the people to do is to continuously engage the public with discussion of what is it that they want the government to fix. We want them to be able to come out and then hold seminars, symposia, and hold a host of other programs so that people can understand them and people can follow the conversation. It is important that these things are done so that the ordinary man will get a sense of what is it that they want us to know so that we can know and know it well. I think governance is a dialogue affair that you give and then somebody takes. So I believe that the way they've started is the way to go, and government will also have a sober reflection on them and be able to do as just simply providing the public good. I think that is the way to go. And it will work in the interest of everybody, both the demonstrators and the people in government, and by extension to the whole populace at large.
All right, I believe we have Oliver back on the line. So Oliver, I'd want you to go on the back of what Dr. Asah-Asante has said about what he thinks that you should do or you should be doing. And then then you can go back to the question I asked you about what is it you see from government that suggests to you that they're taking you seriously.
So I do think there's a lot of unfairness that happens when we have these conversations. To say that we have not been clear about what we are asking for, it's a bit disingenuous. So many people have spoken about several socioeconomic problems. We have talked about, and even on this show, as we've been speaking now, I've talked about the new constitution for a new generation.
Yeah, Oliver, I'm sure, I mean, I don't think he's suggesting that you have not articulated. I'm sure he probably means that he expects you to have some concise issues to present.
Specifically, I've heard this rhetoric a lot of times that goes beyond him. I'm not talking about him specifically. I've heard this said by several political actors who say they haven't been clear, they haven't written it down on a petition. But when you go consistent with release statement, I have systematized these problems and say we need a new constitution because the current one doesn't work. We've said that so many times. We've talked about the need for a development plan that is binding, and by that we need entails a reform of the constitution. We talk about a new economic charter, a Marshall Plan of sorts that deals with the labor issues we have in this country, that deal with the inequities in salary administration, that deal with infrastructural issues. So these issues have been put on the table for so long. I think that we become comfortable with the easy question, which is do some demonstration. So everybody knows that, okay, buy a lot more badges. And then a couple of years down the line, we have judgment debts because we're overproducing. That's not what we're talking about. We say the problem is systemic. So let's have systemic conversation. To then say that because we are not saying water only, that is not being articulated enough about the problems. And it thrives in dishonesty that doesn't allow us to solve the problem. Now to the other question, which is what has government done that gives us an indication that they're doing something. I think it's important to stress, and we've said that from the beginning, that the issues we are raising go beyond government, that it is not one person's responsibility. It entails all the best parts of ourselves as a society, that it must involve all stakeholders, the Ghanaian people first and foremost, and also institutions that were put in place with Parliament, National House of Chiefs, Council of State, all the various institutions that make political life real in this society. And it has been, and so the process must entail all of these people. But government has a unique role as a facilitator, and it must facilitate the process. Nobody's asking that it must have all the answers, it must deliver all the solutions today. So the whole conversation about fixing this together, that is started by us. We have asked that process entail all of us. But first and foremost, one of the things we have said is that we tend to be a republic which thrives on quick fixes. If we can get 1, 2 things together, that means that everything is done. We must go into a process which recognizes that there are Ghanaians in so many parts of this country that do not live in Accra, that do not exist in the online space, who must be engaged in the conversation. And that is what we are doing. We are doing our part by doing this demonstration, by continuing our advocacy and taking it out into the regions and towns. So that is the process of education that we are involved in. And then one of the things we are saying is that we're going to be collecting, and announced yesterday, that we're going to collect 1 million signatures of a vote of no confidence in the 1992 Constitution and in the politics of the Fourth Republic. So that is our process in engaging the citizenry. Now, the role of the facilitator in chief, which is the government, must also wake up to that responsibility and also facilitating conversation and facilitating frameworks that produce results, starting from how do we get a new constitution in place that addresses the so many problems that the 1992 Constitution leaves us with.
Finally, I want to ask you, Oliver.